Last night, I felt down. I felt like I had the world on my shoulders, which I don't, but I felt this way. I was anxious about my future, anxious about my professional life. Every video I was watching on YouTube was a reminder that some people found their way, that people younger than me already have a career. Last night, I was seeing everything in black, not in white, not even in gray, but in pure black. Everyone was pissing me off, and I kept whining about how life is unfair. Until I had a conversation with a friend. I shared my problems, and he told me something along those lines. Relax. If you can't change it, then there's nothing to do about it. Breathe. What you're going through is normal. Just relax. And though usually someone that is telling me to relax when I'm already pissed would take the risk to start a war, this time it worked. I don't know if it's his voice that was soothing, my feeling of loneliness that was just craving for reassuring words, his Greek vibe of never feeling bothered by anything or something else entirely, but it helped me seeing things in a different way, from another perception. I guess I just needed reassurance, something I never had from my mom growing up. I've been told, I don't know how to be there for you like that. And that hurts because I think that we all need someone that is telling us that they believe in us, that we're going to succeed, that I should not let go. Last night, I realized that it's all about perception, that you're the one to choose if the situation you're in sucks or not. And I saw that what I was living was actually not negative, that I was not late, that I was not lost either, that if I was feeling down or like a loser, it was just me comparing myself to other people, maybe because of my education, maybe because of something else. All I wanted was to feel good with where I was in this instant. And if I was really focusing on what I was feeling about myself, then it was primarily the feeling of being proud, proud of what I've been through, who I've become, and what I've done. This year, I'm learning to live for myself and nobody else. No people pleasing anymore. No, but what are people gonna think about me moments? I don't care about what someone I do not know think about me. But I used to care about what my friends and family think. I used to care about wanting to share my story and what I've been through if my parents will not agree. But if I say that, it's gonna hurt this person. If I say what I've been through and what I felt, they're not gonna agree with me. So it means that I'm wrong. I'm wrong for feeling that. I shouldn't feel like that. I've been conditioned that way. I was conditioned that way. It reminds me of a text I wrote a few years ago about perception. It goes like this, quote, "It was just an ordinary day, and yet that was the moment the young boy realized he had enough. He was staring out the window of his room, watching the leaves slowly fall from the trees, twirling and performing a graceful dance before landing silently on the sidewalk. Their fate was tragic, he thought. If it wasn't the constant comings and goings of passerby, then it would be the dogs relieving themselves right where the leaves had come to rest. They served no purpose anymore. The boy couldn't help but feel sorry for them. They might have been just leaves, but to him they were a reflection of himself. He too had been conceived out of love, or so he was told, but once he was born, he was left behind, just like the leaves. The tree had made them only to eventually discard them. That's how he saw life. There were trees, and there were leaves. Mom is a leaf too, he whispered to himself. He was tired of holding on to hope and to pretty words masking a love tainted by lies. Nothing was going to change. Words meant nothing without action, and action is what he was going to take. For the first time in his life, he would confront the tree that had made his and his mother's life so miserable. He waited all day, perched on a stool, watching for the first signs of autumn. Leaves were like that. They waited, day after day, for the inevitable moment. He waited in his room for the tree to come back, exhausted from work and desperately looking for someone to unload his anger on. Trees were like that. They didn't care about the tragic fate of their leaves, they only cared about their own needs. As day gave way to night, the boy knew he didn't have much time left. He gathered all his courage and walked to the stairs, praying that this brave act would lead him to a future better than the one he thought was ahead. He walked down the stairs and hugged the other leaf in the house, the one the tree loved to mock. "It's going to be okay," the young woman whispered, gently stroking her child's back. The sound of a car engine made the boy jump. Instinctively, he ran to hide by the entryway where the coats were kept. Here, he was safe. The tree never bothered to tidy up this space himself. He was always too tired. And just as the boy had predicted, voices rose, a glass shattered, and muffled sobs followed. That's when he knew it was time. And, at just 6 years old, the boy stepped out of the closet to confront the tree, because he wanted to prove to the world and to the tree that leaves could defend themselves. That's how he saw life. There were trees, and there were leaves. But things looked different through adult eyes. The evening was already well underway when the man, just home from a long day's work, wasn't even surprised to learn that his child hadn't eaten all day, and he silently bet the boy was still wearing the same clothes as the last few days. They could afford better. The boy had a wardrobe big enough to wear something different every day of the week. But the man didn't have the strength to leave his wife, to tell her he was done carrying the weight of it all, tired of being the villain in their story. He didn't have it in him to stand in front of her and say those words he hummed all day long. "Yes, I'm sorry to say I'm leaving because you've done too much." It was the end of a song he loved to play on repeat, and if he had the courage to say it out loud, it might also mean the end of a long nightmare. But he knew that even the most beautiful words in the world wouldn't change the way his son saw him. So he hindered. He kept working all day to give his child the best, even knowing part of that money would go toward bottles his partner bought to fill a void. That's how he saw life. They were trees, and they were leaves. End quote. Changing your perception means to rewire your brain. You grew up getting used to think a certain way, to view life from a certain angle, and to react to certain situations. Change does not happen overnight. It starts by asking yourself, what did I learn from this situation? Or what am I learning right now? And then to do that to every negative situations, or more precisely, situations you're viewing as negative. Someone from the other side of the planet might see your situation as the most beautiful thing ever. It does not mean that you should get mad or hard on yourself for ever feeling down. It's natural, it's normal. But to learn how to view situations from other perspectives, or to at least watch it, cry about it, and move on. Nobody asked you to act on it. Turn around, move 2 steps, and watch it again.